Welcome to Get Mad. I'm Mad Hildebrandt, and today we have two ladies from Moms Demand Action. We have Cheryl Haase and Lorian Kotranchuk. And we know that there's a lot of issues going on right now about gun violence and the need for some sort of gun control and some sort of laws. And so these two ladies are here to discuss their vision for finding some way to get a handle on this problem. So let's ask first, Cheryl, can you tell us what exactly is Moms Demand Action and how did you get started?
Sure. Well, we are a group of volunteers. We have chapters in all 50 states. We have over 5 million members now, and yet we began in 2012, the day after the Sandy Hook massacre. A stay-at-home mom, Shannon Watts, started this group just on Facebook. And it started off with just, a couple hundred people. And now we've grown since that time to over 5 million because people are tired of the gun violence epidemic and we're finally raising our voices. So over the years, we've been growing and we had actually a very exciting milestone a few days ago. The state legislature, or not the state legislature, the United States House of Representatives passed a background check bill there. And one of the representatives, Lucy McBath, her son was Jordan Davis, who was shot and killed for playing loud music while African American. And she ran in Georgia for the House of Representatives, and she filled a seat that has been Republican since Newt Gingrich. So that was very exciting for us. So we've come a long way, and we are changing the conversation about guns in this country.
Yes, it does look like you guys are doing a lot that way. Let's turn to Lorian, and you're the lead volunteer for the survivors. And can you discuss that a little bit? What exactly you do?
Sure. Well, Moms Demand Action is part of the Every Town for Gun Sense, and the Every Town Survivor Network represents all sorts of survivors of gun violence. Our organization recognizes survivors being anyone who has personally been wounded or threatened with a firearm, has witnessed gun violence, or has had a loved one who was either killed by a gun or threatened by a gun. Survivors are really at the heart of our movement. We have an educational program designed to help reduce child gun deaths from unintentional shootings as well as suicide. Suicide in children and adolescents in the last 10 years has increased by 61% in this country. And the majority of gun deaths in this country are due to suicide. As well as survivors of intimate partner violence. We have survivors who've lost family members to homicide, to suicide, and we reach out. Part of my job is to reach out, to make contact, and to find out if they are wanting to join this advocacy movement, to offer community supports for them, and if they're at a place to help elevate their voices, to speak out in the community, to talk to legislators about gun laws.
Yeah, that's really important. So do you guys go into the schools, or how do you reach out to these families?
We have a Be Smart educational program, which is designed for adults to keep children safe. Moms truly believes that it is every adult's responsibility to keep children safe. So we focus on safe storage. We focus on the risks, recognizing the risks of suicide. We focus on, being smart means knowing how to secure your guns, unloaded, locked, and separate from ammunition, to always model responsible behavior when it comes to firearms, to ask when my grandson's going to have a play date that I find out, along with other safety issues, are there guns kept in the home? And if so, how are they secured? The R is recognizing the risk of suicide, and T is talk about it. Let's tell your peers about what it means to be smart and reduce child gun deaths. Over 1,300 kids a year are killed in this country by unintentional shootings, suicide, and homicide.
And who's most at risk? Who are the most at risk, and what are you looking for? You know, what kind of laws do you think can address this?
Well, all children are at risk. Everyone in a household where there's a gun is at risk of suicide, 3 times higher risk than households without guns. Every household where there is intimate partner violence and a firearm, the risk of death is 5 times higher. So these are the most vulnerable people in our communities, right? Battered partners and children, usually battered women. It's 16 times more likely for a woman to be shot and killed in the United States by an intimate partner than in other developed nations. So these laws, there's child access prevention laws, which holds adults accountable when a child is able to access a firearm. And there are domestic violence laws and there are these laws in front of the New Mexico legislature this year, domestic violence laws to remove guns from domestic violence offenders. And then there are also the extreme risk protection order laws, which when someone's in an acute crisis, family member or law enforcement can petition a judge to have the firearms removed temporarily until the person is through that crisis.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that that there is some important legislation that's being worked on right here in New Mexico, HB 8 in the House and its sister SB 8 in the Senate. And I know that, Cheryl, those are 2 things that you're really following. Can you talk about those?
Yes, across the nation, because nationally lawmakers just have not been moving to enact sensible gun laws. So across the nation, our group has been working by state to get sensible gun laws passed. And the one that we are really working on during this particular session in the Roundhouse is the HB SB 8, which is a background check bill. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but about 47% of guns are purchased online or at gun shows from private dealers without a background check. So if you're a federally licensed dealer, you have to do background checks. So any gun store you go to will perform a background check. But you know, technology has changed and people buy things online. So there's one of the most well-known places is called Arms List. It's like Craigslist, and people will go and find a gun that they want to buy and meet in, say, a parking lot, and they don't even have to be asked for ID. So that means that a convicted felon could easily go and buy a gun with no background check. So that's what we are trying to get past, because it has been shown to save lives. So for example, you know, you mentioned Everytown, and so if people get confused sometimes, we're Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, but we work, we are together in the same organization with Everytown for Gun Safety. And that had at one time been known as Mayors Against Illegal Guns. And so everything that we work for is based on research. So we don't just choose to support bills because they feel good. Every town has a huge research arm. And so, for example, it has been shown that in states that have enacted background checks like we would like to have happen here, 53% fewer law enforcement officers are killed. That's a huge number, 53% fewer. 47% fewer women are killed by intimate partners in states that have enacted this law. And by the way, it's a very popular law. They've done polling here in New Mexico, and like 87% of New Mexicans agree with this law. And 79% of gun-owning New Mexicans agree with this law, because most gun owners, and by the way, our group, we have a lot of gun owners in our group, because we're not anti-gun. We're definitely pro-Second Amendment, but most gun owners agree that if you are a prohibited buyer, like a convicted felon or somebody who has committed domestic violence, then you should not have a gun, just for our society's sake. And that's what this law is about. It's not about taking away anybody's guns, which sometimes the other side exaggerates what's happening. It's purely that there will be a background check on every gun sale.
Right. So you're just looking to close some loopholes, and just make sure that criminals or the wrong sorts of people that have a record can't get a hold of those guns through legal means. And obviously, you know, people can get guns illegally, but this is one thing that you're hoping to just kind of stem the tide a little bit. Can you tell me who in the House or in the Senate that is a particular angel for you guys? Is there anybody that's really on your side? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them, but I guess we should maybe mention the sponsors of the bill. So on the House side, the sponsor is Senator Sanchez, right?
Senator Martinez. On the House side.
On the House side.
I'm sorry, yes.
No, not on the House side. It's Representative Egoff, right? Mm-hmm. And on the Senate side, it is Senator Martinez up by Taos. Right. Okay. So those are two angels. But everybody who has been voting for it, and there are a lot of them, because it passed the House and the Senate. The Senate then added a couple of amendments. Mm-hmm. So it's going back to the House now. But they get a lot of pressure from the NRA and from people that get money from the NRA. And so that's why it's so important that we speak out, those of us who believe that there need to be sensible gun laws. And there didn't used to be a group like us, like Moms Demand Action. They only heard from the gun lobby. So that's why I say we're changing the conversation about guns, because we knocked many doors, thousands of doors, and made thousands of phone calls. Lorian came to my house more than once for phone banks, and we helped get a lot of gun sense candidates elected to our state legislature.
Yes. I want to mention Representative Sariñana was the major proponent also in the House, and Senator Peter Worth. So they were really the people who carried this bill forth in both of the houses.
Yes.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We have had Cheryl, Haase, and Lorian Kotranchuk from Moms Demand Action, looking for not to take away anybody's guns, but looking for gun sense. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.